everyone, it's Naomi LaChance with TYT Politics. We're here at the Capitol about an hour before Senate Republicans are going to vote on health care. I'm here with some activists, organizers with the National Council on Independent Living. This is Steve Higgins and Mark Derry. Thank you so much for being here with us. So why are you here today?
Well, we're here in one thing to celebrate our freedom as persons with disabilities. The National Council on Independent Living each year annually comes here to the Hill. But what's unique about today is today we were joined by about 2,500 of our brothers and sisters, disabled and non-disabled, together as we marched to the Hill today and had a line of folks close to a mile long, folks from the United States, folks from Japan, folks from other countries joining together, many specifically coming here to Washington this week in particular to protest and to let our voices known about this thing that's called healthcare that's happening on the Hill right now, to let folks know that our brothers and sisters in the disability community, they would die if some of these things go through that folks are suggesting on the Republican side of the Hill. And we just want our voices known. We want folks to know that we're here. And for every single one of us that's here, there's 100 of our non-disabled and our disabled brothers and sisters that can't make it to Washington and can't be on the Hill. And each of us is speaking for our brothers and sisters back in our home states.
Absolutely. How about you?
A lot of advocates are also making an impact back home in local offices of their legislators. We've seen it in several of the past weeks where you've seen televised reports and of people doing die-ins and sit-ins at legislators' offices. And those are people with disabilities that are bringing attention to this issue. And we're really making an impact where a lot of people have been speaking up about the health care issues. It's really life and death for people with disabilities. And so we've started it on the local level in the past several weeks, appearing at local offices. And now we're here in Washington. We're here every year for this rally and march and conference that we have. But this year we're especially tuned in to this revolution in healthcare that needs to take place. We're just getting them to say no to this bad bill, and we want to have some good healthcare for all people with disabilities as well as those without. But our membership is very strong with people with disabilities, and they were all on the march today. As Steve said, the line was over a mile long. It was a beautiful thing to see, and they're going to have an impact here when they go to see their legislators.
A woman I was talking to earlier was saying that, being able to be autonomous, to live a healthy life is really a human right. What kinds of policies and issues do you think that people will talk to their constituents about today?
One of the pieces of legislation that folks are going to be talking about today has everything to do with access. It's H.R. 620, and it's a bill that would make it so that persons with disabilities would have to give notification. Now, there's a scary thing about this bill, and it would be the first time ever, regardless of who we are, it would be the first time any class of persons would have to give notification to file a civil rights lawsuit. And why should the disability community? Why should it be us? Well, the reality of it is it's scary the way things are happening on this Hill today, right now. And if this happens to the disability community, our brothers and sisters in the minority communities, other minority communities are going to feel it next. First, it's going to be the Latino community, then the Black community, then the Asian community. They're just going to start picking us off one by one. And the reality of it is no one should have to give notification to be able to access and to be able to live your civil rights, to be able to pursue your civil rights.
We've waited 27 years plus of the ADA. Businesses have known the ADA is there. They can't plead ignorance. A lot of them are trying to say, well, we need education on the ADA. We've been educating folks on our own through NCIL as well as through the Department of Justice for all these years. The bill that they're proposing suggests that the Department of Justice should do education. They've been doing education for all these years. There's no other money attached to this bill to pay for them to do additional education. They're just making the education a scapegoat, really. And it's been going on for years. So that excuse really doesn't wash with the disability community. Businesses and programs need to be accessible to people with disabilities, the same as they are with everyone else. And so that's one of the reasons we're here, besides health care, is to make sure that legislators are looking at all of our civil rights. Health care is important to us, but this whole thing with the ADA and the notification acts that are being driven by small business owners that are just not they're using it as an excuse to try to get out of providing a simple ramp in the front of their business. It's time to provide the ramp.
Sure. What do you think's going to happen in an hour when Senate Republicans vote?
Good question.
Yeah.
It could be. We don't have a way to predict. We're afraid that we may have enough. They may have enough votes to move forward as far as a bill that they're going to start discussing. This vote is for debate on a bill. It's a bad bill. And so no amount of discussion they have is going to fix this bill. It's a bad bill. We're hoping we had the votes to kill even opening up the conversation. We'd rather see a conversation about how to improve the current ACA that we have. Name it something else. If you're a Republican and you can't stand the name Obamacare, let's call it ACA, okay? Get over our past president. Let's move on and work together for health care for everybody.
When we look at healthcare too, one of the things that's lacking significantly, and we've had folks talk about, is we hear cuts to housing and things like that are happening. And a lot of folks don't recognize that for many of us, housing is freedom, but housing is healthcare. Housing is healthcare, because when we have a place to live and we're not living in institutions and we're not being put in places as persons with disabilities that others aren't, when we have access to healthcare, when we have access to housing, we have access to real healthcare, and that's a start.
Because we're accessing healthcare in our communities. We're not getting locked up in a nursing home because we happen to be poor. We're on social services. The only way I can get services to provide activities of daily living is by going into a nursing home and giving up everything. That's horrible. We like breaking people out of nursing homes that don't belong there. And so we do that every day, and we're empowering folks who might get caught up in that kind of a system here today. There's some of the people you'll see is folks who are vulnerable of getting locked up in a nursing home because they can't access the services and the programs that they need in their community without going to an institution for it. Institutions are much more expensive to provide those services when they can be provided in the community. So that's another piece of this advocacy that we're here to do today.
It sounds like there's really a lot at stake here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. Is there anything else you want to add?
Don't roll back our rights.
Kill that bill.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.